Hello, today I'm going to be reviewing this Canon EF 50mm lens. I've had this for about 7 years now, so I'll go over the pros and cons of this as well as any secret tips that I found during that time. So this is a fixed length lens. What that means is it doesn't have some zoom on it. So just to give some background, this is my first lens here. I got this about 12-13 years ago. Then I got this about 10 years ago. I got this 7 years ago. And then I got this one about 6 years ago. So these are not fixed lengths, which means I can zoom in and out. So this is a telephoto lens, very big, right? This is a wide angle lens, so you can take a wide shot. This is a fixed length. It is not a wide angle. So what this is good for is it's good for things like portraits, it's good for wildlife, action, sports, things like that. It's not as good for landscapes, right? Because when you think about a wide angle, if you imagine a mountain here or a scenery, the wide angle gets the whole shot. Something like this that is not a wide angle just gets that one section. So it'd be not ideal for that. But that's why it's good for portraits, right? Now, the other thing about this, because it's a fixed length, there's what's called a zoom with your feet, right? Is something that you might hear. And that means instead of, like I showed over there, where you can twist it to zoom in and out, get closer or further, you actually have to walk further or closer to your subject. And then you can use this to sort of focus on the photo, right, on the subject. So there's a little bit more walking with this. It doesn't have image stabilization, and so you'll either need to hold really steady and have like a very steady hand, or a tripod, right? You can mount your camera on a tripod. So those are some things to keep in mind with this. It does have a wide aperture. It has an f-stop of 1.8, which is really great for your low light situations. It can give a really good bokeh effect. That's basically a blurry background for portraits, right? So if you imagine, I can kind of show it here. So if I hold this here, this is my subject, you can see the background. Everything is focused on this, but the background is blurred out, right? But if you're doing something at night and you have your subject here and then you have like the little lights in the background and they're kind of like popping, that's a really nice effect. So if that's what you're going for stylistically, this is a good choice for that. It'll really help you with it. Another nice thing about this is it's so small, right? So you see some of those lenses are really big. These are good for if, you know, you're just going for a little hike or something like that. You can carry something and you don't have to worry about it. But if you're traveling and you have, or if you're doing like a backpacking trip and you need to pack light, that's what these smaller lenses are good for, right? Because you can have a little bag like this. Have a little bag like this, and I can only fit one of these lenses with my camera in there, or I could fit two lenses and I have to carry my camera around my neck the whole time. With these smaller lenses, you can put both of them in here and fit your camera, and then your hand's free the whole time until you're ready to use it. Everything's safe and tucked away. I'll show how to use this real quick. I'll just bring this over here. It's always a good idea to handle these with care. And so I always have the covers on these when I'm not using them, just to protect the glass. So you can kind of see here, I twisted that off. Now the glass is exposed. Do not touch that. You don't want to scratch that or get dust on it. It'll show up in your photo. So I'll just swap this one out here, twist that on. And then you see this right here, this copper color matches up with the copper there. So I'm going to turn it slightly, twist it, you hear that click. Now the copper aligned, that means it's in. To take it off, you just press this button. Different cameras will do different things, but Canons typically do this. You press that down and then you twist it the other way, pull it up. Once you're here, you just squeeze this little thing and then your your lens cap is off. And so this is a really cool lens. This is really helpful for keeping your shots very precise. Now, one thing that you might have, depending on the light conditions, you might have some lens flare. And so one thing I don't have with me handy, but you can get a lens hood and you attach it to the top here where this attached, right? You put it on there. It's kind of like one of those cone of shames that you see with the dogs after they've been neutered. It just comes out like here and it blocks the light from coming in at different angles, which will cause that lens flare. So always keep your lens caps on when you're not using it. It's a good rule of thumb. What else? So the main thing that I've used this for is for portrait photography. It's really good for the portraits. It's good for action. Like I said, nighttime shots. And I would say this 50 millimeters, hard to see on that side. This is sort of like your standard focal length, right? So this was the third lens that I bought. But if you only have, if you can only get someone a gift of one lens, this is probably the most standard, right? When you go out and you see people taking photos in front of like touristy spots, things like that, they usually have a small lens, and that's because this is a pretty standard starter lens. I will also point out too, in case you're not familiar with the Canon lines, I mentioned that this is the EF series. And this is sort of that mid-level, it's like the professional, or sorry, the highest end of the hobby grade. And so if you go down one level, you have the EFS, that's for the beginners, think like elementary or middle schoolers, possibly high schoolers, people who don't know that they want to get into photography. That's when you would go for the EFS. Once you maybe get into high school or college age, or if you know that you're into photography, this is the EF line is the best option for them because it allows you to actually take really high quality photos and get the look and the feel in your images that you want. So this is for people who really know that they like photography. The top line is the L line. That's sort of like your professional commercial work thing. So someone who's doing just like high quality product photos or modeling, things like that, they'll go for that. Those are really heavy. They're metal lenses. This is a plastic cover here. And so this is lighter than those. This lens, even by itself, because it's so small, is pretty light. Sort of the last thing to mention is this does have stepper motor technology, which basically provides a smooth and silent autofocus. So if you're doing any video recording, that's going to be really good because you're not going to have any noises when focusing. I'm not a video person, so I can't speak to that specifically, but it does have that built in, which is another nice thing about this. Anyways, that is all I have to say. This has been a really great lens for me. Like I said, it's very compact, and it's sort of, like I said, the standard focal length. So a very solid lens overall. I hope this was helpful, and thank you for watching.